Hello everyone, welcome to the course Disability Studies in India, Historical, Social and Cultural Perspectives. So in the previous lecture, we were talking about what is cyborg. So the idea of cyborg is the fusion of human and machine. So where human and machine, they come together. So the point over here is when we are talking about cyborg, so what cyborg do to us, or what is the relevance of talking cyborg in disability studies? So the relevance of talking about cyborg is that no more we have anthropocentric approach, which means that since uh, we are indulging in European studies, or most of uh, emerging, or let's say all important discipline, they try to dismantle this anthropocentrism because this is more concerned about humans, right? As you remember, I have been telling you that there is a clear division and hierarchy in European society, like there is a first preference given to the god, then man, then animal, and then machine, and then the plant, and then object, so on and so forth. Now, when we entering into this 20th century, and we have seen that science has taken a new leap in its invention, so it is trying to blur the boundaries between human and machine. So when you see that now man were controlling the things around, now we could see that machine is going to control the things around. For example, if you look around, what is happening? Like, you cannot do anything without the help of technologies, right? So it's not that you are taking the help of technology, it's like technology is using you, right? What technology wants you to do, you are doing it. Technology can make you that you do this or you do that. It projects the reality the way it wants. You think that you are using technology, but the mediation through which it also project another way to look at the society or the reality. So the point is pretty clear here that after the cyborg, what we have reached to the point to understand that there is a dent on anthropocentrism, right? Anthropocentric approach. So there is a shift from human to machine. So let me give you one more example just to explain this to you. Genetic engineering, what does this do? It improves your genes and it has capacity to ensure the kind of appearance you want. That's one example, right? Then we have a brain-human interface, which I will be talking about it. What brain-computer interface? What does computer do in your brains? Let's say, for example, when you are not able to move your body, or you're not able to think properly, there are some Down syndromes you are suffering from, then this brain-computer interface helps in making your cognitive decision, in making your body move, or if your particular limbs is not working, it can allow you to work. Now here you see that machine is already inside your brain and it is working as a brain. So now the point is, which one is more powerful, your brain or the machine, right? So initially you were thinking that brain is powerful. Now you see that machine has replaced your brain, not technically, not very literally, but I mean to say technically it has replaced, like what the job of the brain is taken over by the machine, right? So you can do what you want. In fact, it can augment your capacity. So let's say, for example, now a person who is being demeaned, who is physically not looking good, and he does not have a lot of strength, but with the help of machine, he can emerge as a superpower, Superman, right? He can project in 1 second day, he will get up and you will see that he is not what he was. So here you see that machine has that capacity to challenge this anthropocentric approach and ask you to rely upon the machines. It can challenge the entire binaries that were created before. I'm not suggesting that it will not create another binary. What I'm suggesting that it will challenge the binary imposed, right? It will challenge the binary imposed. Second idea is that, for example, identity, right? It has capacity to change your identity, right? You are, let's say, disabled today. With the help of machine, you are so much able that even able people feel disabled, right? Women, they can be more powerful than any man on the world with the help of machine, right? So here you see that the binary, the division, the dichotomy is subverted, is dismantled. And that's why when we are reading about cyborg, which I will be also talking about in my lecture, about post-humanism, that is what post-humanism does. Post-humanism looks at how certain technologies has taken over the human bodies. All right, so we'll talk about all this in detail. So this is what you have to keep in the mind, right? This is what you have to think when you are talking about cyborg in relation to people with disabilities. One more interesting point I would like to let you know is that when we are talking about the cyborg, cyborg is not just about the interface of human and machine, right? It goes one step ahead and provides you temporarily able bodies, right? And that is what the job of the prosthetic is. What does prosthetic do? It gives you a new aesthetics. It has the capacity to change your perceptions to look at the body. Let's say, for example, the very idea of a beauty, right? We have some ideal notion of a beauty, and that is why I have been telling this to you, that you cannot tell that this is a final standard of beauty, right? You reach to that, that's it. No, there is a this is an abstract concept. It cannot be concretized. It will have another shape of a beauty, another notion of a beauty as you try to reach to the so-called pinnacle of the beauty. So what does machine do? It has capacity to enhance the standard of the beauty itself, right? You can see the kind of a market globally is booming, where you can see that there is no limit to the beauty standard, right? So what I'm talking about is that you have to think for a second what machine is doing to us, what cyborg is doing to us, not only in study but also around the society, what it is capable of. All right. So with this, let me reach to the first slide. Please look at the first slide. Here I'm talking about ethical implication and challenges of cyborg technology, right? So the rise of cyborg technologies, it brings significant ethical challenges. Perhaps the most pressing concerns revolve around the issue of identity, autonomy, and equality. Let me explain this to you first, and then I will move to the next slide. First is talking about autonomy, identity, and technology. Look at the three important concepts, right? Identity, autonomy, and equality. Ethical implication is obviously very significant in our society, in human society, right? Because our most of behaviors are grounded on certain ethics. It depends our action is ethical or not, right? So after the intervention of technologies, we see that the ethical paradigm has taken a new shift. For example, who is good, who is bad? Now you have a certain set of standard on which you are judging a person whether he is good or bad. Now due to the machine intervention, the idea of a good has become something different. Let's say, for example, punctualities, right? This is a small notion that you can relate with. Now, if I ask you where do you live and you say I am living there, let's say for example 30 minutes distance, and then I am saying why are you late? Because I am presuming that you get up early in the morning, you take a bus or car or auto rickshaw, whatever is available, and you reach over there. In our mind, I cannot think that you do not access machine, right, or technology is available. So for example, if suppose we don't have that scenario, imagine that there is no automobile cars or there is no transport available. So then if you are coming from 30-kilometer distance for me, oh really, how did you come? Look at the expression that I would have for you. The same person is coming from 30-kilometer distance, is now I'm feeling bad for him. But immediately the moment transport is reaching to that place, I am going to think that if he's late, how did you come late? Like imagine that situation has changed. My perspective to look at you has changed. I am looking at you, not the person who is really good, who gets up early in the morning, walks 30 kilometers and reaches to my place. But rather, I'm looking at you as if you have done something crime by not taking rickshaw or automobiles. Because for me, in my mind, the very idea of 30 kilometers covering it up has extremely changed. This is what I'm talking about, ethical implications. I'm just giving you a particular simple example so that you can understand what I'm referring to. Let's say, for example, if you are sick, right? If you are sick and then I'm giving you a leave, let's say for example, I'm your employer and I have given you a leave for particular days, and then even if you're not well, I'm going to ask you that why did you take a help of the medicines, the doctors, so on and so forth. So, and if you say, no, I don't want the help of any doctor, I am going to treat you as if you are a bad person, right? You are not seeking the help, you are a lazy person, you deliberately want to avoid the work, so on and so forth. I'm sure that in my previous class, I had already discussed the role of like the sick role in our society, how the idea of sick governs and regulates our behavior. Like if you are sick, I can give you a leave, right? Look at this condition. If you say something else, I will say you're making excuse. The point what I'm talking about is here, how with the intervention of technology, ethical implication has changed. The ethics, the idea of ethics has got new definition, it has got new meaning, it has got new shape. All right, so this is why it is very significant and important to think about ethics and machine when they interface in relation to body or in relation to technologies, right? So let's go to the next slide now and see the further where I was living. Identity, autonomy, look at this 3 point, right? Perhaps the most pressing concern revolve around issue of identity put into the box, autonomy, because I'm going to talk about each and every one by one, because that's a very important and significant concept. Okay, let's talk about first identity. Oh no, let me start with the last one, inequality, right? There are 3 important concepts in relation to cyborg. What is inequality? Inequality means the resources are not distributed equally to you. Simple, right? So the resources are not distributed equally to you, and that is why there is inequality. Maybe natural, maybe cultural, maybe whatever reasons may be, but it simply suggests that inequality means you have not been given the equal opportunities to access the resources, or someone is enjoying resources more than you do, right? And that is why you remember after the freedom movement, when India got independence, there was a huge revolution where a lot of people had a lot lands, and then there was a law which distributed the lands to other people as well, because other people did not have a land. They used to work on the farm of landlord, or you say feudal society, basically I'm talking about. But later on what happened that they divided, and obviously the conflict happened and all that. Let's not talk about the conflict, but the point I'm talking about, inequality. Why does inequality exist in the society? For many reasons, right? I mean, there are n number of reasons. If I keep talking about reasons, it will take 2 or 3 lectures, because it's a huge discussion about inequality. But the context in which I'm talking about inequality is a simple idea that with the help of a machine, now you can enhance your status, right? As I told you about in terms of body, like you take the help of machine, you can prove yourself much powerful, much worthy than other persons, right? Let's say for example, we have got ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT is doing? Like artificial intelligence. It has enhanced our writing capacity, right? Let's say for example, you ask me to give me an application, I'll just take 30 seconds to write an application, right? Imagine that speed it has. So now and obviously slowly it will become our habit, right? It will become our attitude that we need to seek the help of technologies, and we will become dependent on it. We will feel lazy, and now that's why I'm saying it's not technology. You are not using technology. Technology is using you, right? So the point is that about inequality, right? For example, ChatGPT is expensive, right? You cannot have a ChatGPT just for free. I mean, obviously there are free something, but obviously you have to pay to use the advanced ChatGPT. In that case, the person who has the money, he would be able to avail easily. And then how will you compete, right? Economically, you are deprived, even if you know how to use it better. But since you cannot buy it, you cannot subscribe it, you don't have enough proper technology in your rooms, you won't be able to compete. Let's say, for example, there are many exams nowadays where technology is helping like anything, right? If they have access to technology, they can clear the exam easily because materials are available, tuitions are available, like my videos are available to you. You need the data just to download the videos and listen to me and all that. Let's say, for example, the country, the community, the place, the person, they don't have internet access. Don't you think they will be deprived and they will remain backward, right? So this idea of inequality, I personally feel that's going to be a mirage after a point of time, and in a society where we are going to live, people will remain unequal. And it is, as I said, the politics of new society, I say, right? New normal, in the same way, new society is that injustice is justified, right? That injustice will look justice. Injustice will look just. That is a fine if someone is unequal, someone is not able to compete. That's a fine because they don't, like, it's your problem. You don't have access to technology. Like, let's say, for example, I can give you n number of examples available around. Let's talk about something else now. After the inequality, let me talk about autonomy. That's a second important concept. Autonomy. How can you remain autonomous? Right? You cannot remain autonomous when technology has directly infiltrated in your room. Right? You cannot remain autonomous. Autonomy, I mean, let's say, for example, what it does, it challenges the idea of dependence, right? If one person is dependent on another person, then you look down upon him. You think he's not doing something ethically good. You think he's a bad person, so on and so forth, right? But you are extremely dependent on technology, and then you don't say anything, right? So for everything you use technology, and then that idea of dependence is not there. That is idea of independence, right? I mean, look, don't you think it's a paradox? Like, I'm seeking the help of ChatGPT and writing a letter. It's independence, right? And asking a person to write an application for me is a dependence. How? It's just because you can afford doesn't mean that you're independent, right? It means there is an inequality in the society which has made this possible. All right. So I will be talking more on it, and let's talk about identity, right? Obviously, I touched upon identity, that identity is how do you identify yourself, right? How do you look at yourself? But the moment machine intervenes, you start changing. Let's say, for example, I'm sorry, I'm using two words, which doesn't mean I don't subscribe to them, I don't subscribe to those ideas. I'm just using it just to convey the idea that if you feel that you are ugly, with the help of technologies, you can look extremely beautiful, right? So the person has ugly identity a day before, now he has identity of being handsome or beautiful, right? So this is what I'm talking about, the identity. It changed, evolved, it fluid, and with the help of technology, it's obviously something very different. You understood? So these three important concepts, I can talk more on it. I can give you lectures and lectures on identity, autonomy, and inequality. But my point is that just to touch upon so that you can explore, you can discuss, you can talk about different dimensions of it. All right. Let's go to the slide, please. So if you go to the slide, what you see as a technological enhancement become more sophisticated, right? The question of where human ends and machine begins becomes blurred, right? So there's no clear line where you can say that human ends and machine begins. No. Where does machine begin and where does human ends? You cannot say this. Let's say, for example, we have a person with a robotic limb, right? Robotic limb or a neural implant may face questions regarding the extent of their autonomy and even their identity. This dilemma is particularly relevant in the context of BCI, which means, let me write for you, brain computer interface, right? Where the line between individual thought and programmed response could become difficult to delineate, right? Whether it is your thought or it is a programmed response, it's not there. So there are also concerns about the accessibility and fairness of cyborg technologies. Such enhancement, especially neural interfaces, please read it, and advanced prosthetics may initially be accessible only to affluent individuals. That is what I was constantly referring to, because they are not cheap. They are extremely expensive, right? It's not possible for every common man to go for brain-computer interface. So it is only available to affluent people for specific groups, potentially creating a societal divide between the enhanced and the unenhanced, right? Creating a societal divide between enhanced and unenhanced. So this divide could exacerbate existing inequalities and lead to discrimination against individuals who do not or cannot adopt technological enhancement. That's the point I was constantly referring to when I was talking about inequality, that neural implants, brain-computer interface, prosthetic limbs, what they do, one, they blur the boundary that you are not sure whether from where the limb ends and the machine starts, and whether it's you who are thinking or it's a programmed, the machine that's programmed, the chips that is in your brain that is working, right? Or that is programming your thought process, right? So this is very, very difficult to say, difficult to talk about, right? That's the one thing that I have been talking about. The second thing where I'm more concerned is that the gap, right, between rich and the poor. So we wanted a society where the gap is diminished. The gap is not much between rich and poor. Even poor can afford a lot of things which rich have easy access. But after the technology has taken over, as I was talking in the slide, that it is impossible now that this divide will widen, right? The rich and poor divide will more widened, right? And as the society progresses, people will remain discriminated, right? People will feel discriminated, feel disabled more often than they do now, right? So this is a tragedy which we are going to face, right? Look at the next slide, please. So in the next slide, I'm talking about ethical issue that relates to privacy and control, right? Where is the privacy? That is a very important issue which couple of years before even Supreme Court gave a judgment during the case of Aadhaar, right? But let's not talk about Aadhaar, that's not my job, but my job is just to tell you that after that machine interface, this issue has become more prominent in terms of privacy and control. So brain-computer interface and other cyborg technologies, they could expose individuals to surveillance or manipulation. That's a point, right? This interface and this cyborg technology is surveillance and manipulation. The ability to control or monitor thoughts and action through neural interfaces raises question about the extent to which an individual thoughts and actions could be accessed, regulated, or influenced by external parties. The rise of a cyborg technology invites a fundamental re-evaluation of what it means to be human. So philosophers have long grappled with the concept of human identity, emergence of cyborgs, that bring these questions into sharp relief. If a person can replace parts of their body or brain with machine, does it change their essential nature? There are arguments that cyborg technology enhances human ability, pushing humanity beyond the biological limitations, right? And that is what I have been talking to you, right? But there is another argument which is extremely significant. The cyborg technology also poses a risk to human identity, right? The integration of machine may lead to loss of characteristics that define humanity. For example, emotion, empathy, a sense of individualism, right? This is what the idea of human was, or definition, but now it's being challenged, right? So while machines can enhance physical or cognitive functions, they may erode the psychological and emotional aspect that constitute the essence of human identity. So therefore, the future of cyborg technology is filled with possibilities. With substantial challenges, there is a continued development of BCI, prosthetics, genetic engineering that could result in a society where humans are increasingly augmented by technology. So when we go back to the medical field, what we notice that cyborg technology has the potential to revolutionize treatment for physical disabilities, neurological disorders, and sensory impairments with the aid of artificial intelligence, future cyborg enhancement, and offer cognitive and physical abilities that were once the realm of science fiction, right? So, I mean, look at this point, which is significant, that how the concept of cyborg, which was initially confined to the realm of science fiction, is now becoming a reality, right? It can be envisioned by the people. And through the technological advancement in prosthetics, genetic engineering, humanity is beginning to blur the line between biological and mechanical. So this shift challenges traditional definition of humanity. It raises question about autonomy, identity, and equality. So as we move forward, society must carefully consider the ethical implication of cyborg technology, which ensuring that it serves as a tool for enhancement and inclusivity rather than division and control. So cyborg embody a new frontier, one that could redefine not only what it means to be human, but also how humans relate to technology and to one another in an increasingly mechanized world. All right. So to conclude my lecture, I would like to say that at one side where the division is getting blurred, but at the same time, it is posing a constant risk against humanity. Humanity is going to be redefined, and we have to really be conscious and clear whether the society in which we are entering is going to be accessible for people with disabilities or for other marginalized identities, or it's going to discriminate more often, or it is going to widen the gap between people. That's an important concern that we raise when we are thinking about science and machines interface with humans, right? Obviously, and what we were watching as a science fiction novel, right? What we're reading is now coming, is being materialized, can be seen in our real world. So it's not more only the films, but we can see in our real world as well. So with this, I would like to end my lecture. Thank you so much for your patient listening. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.